Hello everyone. I started a repair recently on my Goldwing that seemed straightforward, and then it became a bigger project. Stay with me and I'll show you what went wrong and how I fixed it. I went for a ride on my 2014 GL1800, and after reaching my destination I went to use reverse to get into a parking space. Unfortunately, the reverse switch would not stay depressed. But I figured that replacing it with a new switch would be pretty easy. Open up the control housing, remove the old switch, and plug in a new one. When I got home, I went online to order a replacement switch. Honda, motorcycles, 2014, GL1800. Handle switch. But I couldn't find the reverse switch in the parts diagram. Strangely, there are no switches listed. The only option appeared to be to buy the entire control housing for $315. Ouch. I went on YouTube and searched for broken push button on Honda GL1800. I found several helpful videos, and after watching them, I understood why the switches are not listed as replacement parts. The switches don't plug into the wiring harness. Instead, the wires in the harness are soldered directly to the switches. So the switches and the wiring harness are all one assembly. From the videos I watched, it appeared that disassembling and cleaning and repairing the switches was pretty straightforward. The only caveat was that the switches contain several tiny springs, and you want to be super careful that they don't go boing and fly off into the dark recesses of your garage, never to be seen again. Forewarned is forearmed. And since I haven't made a video for my channel in a long time, I thought I'd give back to the community a bit and document the process. And I'm glad I did, because I wound up with my own unique challenge, and having the photos and video to review during the repair proved to be invaluable. I'll show you what happened. The reverse switch was still functioning. When depressed, the bike did go into reverse, but the internal latching mechanism was failing. Disassembly is not difficult. I started by removing the handle cover, which is held on by two small bolts. The top one is easily accessed. The bottom one is a bit of a pain because of the closeness to the cowl. So I got it loosened with a regular screwdriver and then unscrewed it using a Phillips hex bit. Looking at the underside of the control housing, there are two bolts that hold it together. I used a stubby screwdriver to undo the bolts. And you need to remove the small clip that secures the grip heater cable. Then, with a bit of wiggling and jiggling, you can separate the lower half of the case. There's virtually no slack in the harness, so you'll need to unscrew the clamp that secures the wiring harness where it exits the housing, as well as the clamp that secures the wiring harness going to the top half of the housing. You can see the end of it here. And lastly, there is one screw that secures the reverse switch itself. You could then push the switch into the housing all the way and then pull it out to get access to it. There's a thin nylon cover protecting the wires. That pops off easily. Here's where you want to be super careful. When you remove the black top cover of the switch, the springs will be exposed. I found that I could simply pry the sides with my thumbs and it easily came apart. I clamped my thumb over the spring so that nothing would fly away as I took it to my workbench. I took out the center spring and then removed the two contacts and springs. The push button arm can then be lifted out. That little wire pin is the culprit. That's the mechanism that locks the button in when pressed and releases it when pressed again. Either it was stuck because of dirt, or the flat spring underneath had lost some of its tension after 12 years, so the pin didn't engage. Here you can see how the mechanism actually works. When you press the button in, the pin slides up this side to here. And when you release the button, the pin comes to rest on this lip. This holds the button in the in position. When you press the button again, the pin slides out on this side, and when you release the button, the pin moves back to its neutral position. I sprayed it with electrical contact cleaner and used compressed air to blow out the dirt and grease. I did the same for the push button, but it really wasn't as clean as I liked. So I removed the little pin, sprayed it with brake cleaner this time, and blew it out again. It was clean now, but I also blew out the little flat tension spring. Oops, I should have removed that too. Without it, the wire won't engage properly. That little part is about 3/32 of an inch wide and about 5/16 of an inch long. I looked and looked, but couldn't find it. Having hit it with a blast of compressed air, it could be anywhere. What followed was several minutes of despair, realizing that because of my carelessness, that teeny tiny missing part was going to cost me $315. It wasn't a replacement part I could order. I would have to purchase the entire control unit, and installing it would be a big job. This is why curse words were invented. But maybe I could make a replacement part. I had nothing to lose, so I went to my local Hobby Lobby and bought some thin brass sheets. They're 4 inches by 10 inches, so even if it took me several tries, I had plenty of material. They sold it in 2 thicknesses, 1/100th of an inch and a slightly thicker 16/1000th of an inch. I wasn't sure which thickness would be better, so I got both. And I bought this set of tiny Dremel drill bits at Lowe's so that I could drill the tiny hole at the end to fit over this little pin. And I bought some straight aircraft snips to cut the brass. I decided to go with the thinner 1/100th of an inch material. It just felt right. I drilled the hole first using the 3/64 of an inch bit. Then used the snips to cut the brass to the correct width. Here's where the photos and video that I had already shot were helpful. I could see that the original part had a bend at the end to secure it under the little hold down, so I did the same. Then I trimmed it to the correct length, and by gosh, it fit perfectly on the first attempt. Then I added the little upward bend to keep the tension on the wire latch. This took a bit of fiddling and trial and error to get the right amount of bend. Too much and the wire pin would bind, too little and the wire pin wouldn't engage, but after a couple of tries, it worked. I added a dab of dielectric grease to the push button so that the wire would slide easily, and used some dielectric grease to help secure the little springs and contacts. And I put a little bit on the black cover so that the push button bar would slide easily once the switch was reassembled. And once again, I covered the assembly with my thumb as I carried it from my workbench back to the bike. I snapped the cover on and tested it before reassembling everything. And lo and behold, it's working like new. And lastly, I replaced the thin nylon cover. Reassembly is done in reverse. Install and secure the switch. Install the clamp that secures the harness leading to the upper controls, and secure the harness where it exits the housing. Reattach the bottom. This takes some wiggling. And secure the grip heater cable. Lastly, reinstall the cable cover on the handlebar. So the total cost was $32, $4 for the brass, $13 for the drill bits, and $15 for the snips. 10% of the cost, and a lot less work than buying and installing a new control assembly. If I had to do this again, I'd still take the switch out, but before disassembling it, I would first spray some electrical contact cleaner into it to see if that fixed the problem. I hope that you found this helpful and entertaining. If you liked it, please hit that like button and consider subscribing. If you didn't like it, hit that like button twice. Thanks for watching.